Greetings, brothers and sisters. So this is the video on my other channel, Apocalypse Now. Hollywood celebrities dropping like flies. The Queen, the story they don't want you to know about. There's a link to this channel in the description box of all my videos. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Queen, a little bit about Prince Charles, and just some of the celebrity reaction. But mostly what I want to end up talking about is how many people are feeling weirded out days before whatever happened here. And I've been feeling, I don't know what to say, off. I mean, I've talked about this in recent videos, and so many people are commenting they're feeling weird. And, you know, I don't think it, I mean, I'm sure this is part of it, but not the reason, right? The Queen's death. But I want to talk more about this at the end of the video. 73-year-old man finally gets a job. There he is, and he's, you know, not very likable. Please be respectful when talking about the Queen. She was head of a state, a monarch, a mother to multiple pedos, and most importantly, a devout cousin to her husband. My wife sent me that yesterday. Americans don't get what the Queen of England meant to Brits like me. To Americans, this may seem bizarre, but the Queen felt like a grandmother to me. It is bizarre, and, you know, it's crazy because she wasn't your grandmother. She was a parasite living off of you and the rest of the people in England. Here it is. The announcement from Buckingham Palace was short, simple, and stark. The Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon. The King and Queen consort will remain at Balmoral this evening and will return to London tomorrow. The Queen consort, is that Camilla? I don't know. Who cares? It was a very royal and very British response to a monumental event on the world stage, but there was nothing short or simple about Queen Elizabeth's 70-year reign. For my part, a British expat now living in Los Angeles, tears are streaming down my face, my effing face. I write this, trying to feel the pings of condolences, texts coming through. Wow, this is bizarre. I'm awash in memories. Queen Elizabeth was my constant, my North Star for as long as I can remember. To Americans, this may seem bizarre because there really is no equivalent in this country. And no, it's not like the death of a president who might have been respected and liked, but was always a political figure from start to finish. To so many Britons, the Queen was like our own grandmother, distant perhaps, both literally and figuratively, but strong, a steadfast presence nonetheless. I felt the presence acutely while celebrating her silver jubilee in 1977 in my hometown of Southend-on-the-Sea in Essex. I was 11 years old, but it remains one of my strongest memories. The whole country was amped up. We made bunting for our street party, hung the Union Jack flag everywhere, brought the tea towels and mugs, emblazoned with their image, made red, white, and blue cakes, and it wasn't lip service. Everyone was excited to honor and celebrate her. I wish Americans could somehow tap into those celebratory feelings and the honor that people had for the Queen. The honor was earned by being a head of state who was beloved and admired, not because she was the effervescent and bubbly, not because she had the type of charisma of a fox charm that many Hollywood celebrities and politicians exude. Instead, the Queen was steady and resolute, a firm, safe presence who refused to be buffeted by the prevailing winds. For a woman who devoted 70 years of her life to that service, it broke my heart. It broke my heart to see the lack of respect extended to her in hours leading up to her passing, as I was constantly refreshed by news feeds and follow updates on Twitter. Once news broke that she was seriously ill, I was inundated by trash talk about the monarchy and some of its more troubling legacy, while the Queen lay on her deathbed. How dare they? How dare you? This is truly unwarranted. This is truly unwarranted, because whether you're a monarchist or not, and there are plenty of British Commonwealth subjects who are decidedly not, Queen Elizabeth devoted her life to service and the public good. Yeah, a life of a parasite, right? And so, you know, this is how some people feel. Like, think about the level of this person's sheepledom. Okay, so I'm in the editing process. It was really funny for me to listen to it because it's so ridiculous, right? But the bottom line is you don't need a king or a queen. In fact, I think the majority of countries, in terms of their government, in terms of their hierarchy, whatever way they set up their ruling class or how they have, their administrative level, the king and queen level is always the people with the king and queen are the most unhappy, right? I don't look at the British people as being very happy. The least happy people in Europe and less happy than Americans, right? More negative, more cynical. They really love their villains there. I mean, just a lot of alcoholism, a lot of drinking, right? And so I don't view the British people as having a better life. Or this woman's I believe it's a woman. I hope to God it's a woman, right? But this person's in L.A., right? An expat. I mean, they love the Queen so much, but they've settled in America, and she's trying to tell us how much we're missing out on not having a parasitic ghoul, reptilian, sucking off our resources, and so we get to watch her wealth and opulence, and I mean, I don't like the celebrity culture. I don't like the political culture. I don't like the elitism. I don't like the disparity in wealth and income in our country and the world, and the Queen is the epitome of that. And so we're not missing out on anything, right? We're not the ones who are missing out. We're not the ones that need to wake up. Anyways, here, King Charles III leads Britain into mourning in an uncertain new era after the Queen's death. So in my other videos, one of the English commenters said that Wales, Charles was the Prince of Wales, is likely to seek possible independence, as is Scotland, and there's going to be multiple countries leaving the British Commonwealth. So, Britain is no longer going to be what it once was, right? So here's Alec P. Baldwin showing the Queen with her orb and her scepter that requiescat in pace. What our beautiful Queen, it's just devastating. Clap hands, a heart, and prayer hands. Does he always have to be so pretentious and say stuff like that? What a leader. London Bridge is down. Very sad. Rest in peace, our Queen. And now the two great Elizabeth, the queens who made history, will finally have 5 o'clock tea together. Yeah, no, they won't. Right? That's, she served her country well. R.I.P. Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth, she's irreplaceable. She was an example to us all, R.I.P. I mean, think of the level of sheepledom, right? And, there's nothing, and these are all liberals, and there's nothing, like I've said over and over again, more racist than the idea of bloodlines being royal. That by the royalty of your genetics, by the superiority of your genetics, that you're somehow a ruler, and your family and your, cousin Mary and family. And so Alec Baldwin, who's supposed to be a liberal, doesn't understand this, as none of his other goofy followers. I was thinking when I was editing this, it was just like so hard to get through this one. I woke up really early today. I woke up, when I was supposed to wake up, because the best time to meditate, the Sahaj Marg meditation, is before dawn. And I used to get up all the time before then, not so much anymore. And so I'm up a little bit later. But I woke up before dawn, didn't know, I thought it was 4, felt awake, started to meditate, and then my wife woke up, like she was up early, and then it became light out. I was like, oh. I thought I was going back to sleep, and I didn't. I just took a little nap. And I made the video today on my other channel, which took a lot out of me because I was, going down memory lane of, things I covered years and years ago. I haven't talked about the royal family this much, or the Queen, in, a number of years. And so I had to remember all these things, and then I looked in my folder marked human sacrifice, and it's a big folder. And in that folder, about half of it has to do with the Queen and their weird behaviors, but there's a lot of other stuff there. Just these old pictures I used to have, right? I used to make picture videos. Now I've sort of changed the way I do this. But, I had to go back and pull out some of these old articles and pictures, screenshots of articles and whatever it might be. And I think some of the way I'm feeling, everyone else is feeling, has to do with the Queen's death, because this is an iconic moment, whatever you think about it, good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, there's going to be big changes in the world, global restructuring, and these, sort of British people, experts who are on CNN, if you watch my other video on my other channel, were saying that multiple countries are going to leave the British Commonwealth. Some of these countries might seek independence. I mean, they just named Kate Middleton the Duchess of Wales or whatever. Now they have this is what Charles was, and all these titles are switching, and all these things are happening within the whole royal framework. But they're saying how the Queen had such a much better sense of humor than Charles, right? And I didn't find her funny, but at least not intentionally. And, she was an iconic figure who, I think held the British monarchy together, and people don't like Charles as much. And it's a good opportunity for these other countries to bail. And they were talking about how they have, better partnerships available because, Great Britain isn't the global leader it was. And so now you have the potential of multiple countries leaving. Australia leaves, that's a big one. They were mentioning that. And Scotland leaving, from seeking its own independence as a independent country, the Wales. And so there's going to be a big shift here. Because my wife was saying there's a lot of truthers out there saying, well, what is this supposed to distract us from? Well, I'm like, this is a global event. This is the family that owned more real estate than any other country or anybody in the world, right? They own more land. But a lot of that's tied to the Commonwealth, and that's going to be stripped away now as these member states bail on, this abusive relationship. But anyways, I feel like this is, a part of it, but certainly not the whole reason that all of us are, feeling. And it doesn't necessarily mean down. I just feel different. Like I'm out of it a lot. I have trouble focusing and, getting work done. It's the end of summer, and I want to get a lot of the farm work done. And we had a good year this year. We got the fence finally done. And I built a path around our pasture and, just things that are, my wife and I go for walks every day around there. It's like having a, almost like a little park for ourselves to walk in. We walk about, 5 to, 8 or 9 miles a day. And so, there's a lot of good things going on. We had our biggest year in terms of food growth. And so it was a good year farming. My energy's returned. I felt good physically. But I just want to, use the rest of this time before it gets cold out. And, it's just a matter of me staying focused. It's good for me to break up my day and do other things so I don't get overwhelmed by the computer. But I can't focus on anything, really. Once I get going, I'm fine. But I'm like extra lazy and, wherever it is. Right, I'm getting these videos done, but it's later than I usually do. And I'm dragging by dinner time and, not really tired, but just, just forcing myself to sort of grind it out, right? And I got so many comments here of people who are struggling with a lot of people talking about having headaches or sleeping a lot or restless sleep or, again, some people having really negative thoughts, depression and things. And one thing is to remember that if everyone's going through this, then it's not something specific to you. Like you can figure ways to cope. Like everyone's got to figure out what they need and, what they need in terms of maybe meditation. I do cleaning, I get sittings and things that helps me. There's things to take, adaptogens and things, but ways to focus that this is like something that's going on in the atmosphere and not let it overwhelm you, not make decisions based in how you feel, because it's like being drunk, it's going to pass, right? It's like making decisions when you're drunk or on drugs or something that, it's not a good time to make decisions. It's not a good time to panic and hit the panic button because you feel a certain way, because it's just going to pass over you. It's going to pass through you. I mean, whatever's happening, it's, something that's affecting many of us, if not all of us, on some level. I mean, even if it's something you're going through personally, whatever, mood swings you go through in life, they're temporary. Some people have, chronic depression and chronic unhappiness. But even, what I went through personally with that big cleaning a couple of years ago, I guess 2013 through 15, I went through the divorce or whatever. I came out feeling great, like a new person. Just all this burden, spiritual burden I'd been carrying around. It was mostly some sort of deep resentment and bitterness I had towards God, right? A bitterness, a feeling of resentment. And when that was cleaned out, I felt like so much better. Like I can't really describe how much better I feel. And so even with something like that, if there's changes going on, you eventually might overcome something. And people sometimes lose their psychological issues. They get less selfish and things if they're doing, living the right way, doing things the right way. That can happen in a person's life as they get older, right? But if you're normally, feeling okay, or you're happy, or you're not depressed, and then all of a sudden you go through something like this, and it could be situational, something happening in your life, or sometimes you just feel like the way everyone's feeling without really any explanation. You always have to remember that, it's just something passing through you, and it's a temporary situation. And also the condition of the world is changing. I mean, things are, changing in our external world and, spiritually first. And there's like a change in yugas, which is a big conditional change. And it's going to feel completely different on planet Earth, almost like an atmospheric change. And then whatever things that are going to have to happen, wars and, natural disasters and the poles reversing themselves, or solar flares, or any number of things that are going to have effect on people. It's just something you have to get through, right? Something you have to, just struggle through, because at some point you're going to come out the other side. It might take a number of years. But we're entering a phase where we're in a transitionary period on multiple levels, and things are going to be different on planet Earth, and people have to accept, they're going to have to be able to adapt and accept these changes, embrace them, because otherwise you're going to sink. It's like a sink or swim type situation. If there's anything that being in the so-called truth community does for us, it's that we can prepare. We can adjust ourselves. We can change the way we think about things. We can accept things. We can understand the reason for changes. We can embrace the changes and things that are happening. We can understand the need for the system to collapse or whatever might be going on, all these things. And that's a huge advantage, right? A lot of people are just going to be in shock, and they're going to be walking around having no idea why they feel the way they feel, or why things are happening to them, the way that they're happening. And I mean, that's, a nightmare. Like they're just going to be feeling like a victim, and just completely overwhelmed and confused, and, not being able to adjust and function and change and adapt to what's happening, because they're sealing off the possibility that something like this could happen, that they think the system, the economy, the governments are invincible, too big to fail, right? And so they're just going to, believe that that's not a possibility. And now that it is, right, it's a very real possibility. I mean, it's like literally happening. And the more that they go into denial, the bigger the shock when they finally have to face up to it, right? Eventually, everyone's going to have to accept what's happening here, and that the system wasn't... I mean, the only reason to believe in the official story is you think the system's just going to be here forever, and you don't want to, fight against it, or you don't want to cut yourself off from all the benefits and all the the perks and the privileges the system has to offer. And so you're just like you're saying, all right, I'm going to believe what they say because I am dependent on it, and it's just it's in my best interest not to fight it and get upset and whatever. And I can understand that point of view. But if the system's in free fall and collapse, then it's a whole different story. You're hurting yourself, and your denial of what's going on is something that you're going to have to face up to at some point or another. And so all of us that have embraced that and realized that we have to check everything, we have to read the ingredients of everything, and it sucks and it's a lot of extra effort, and our lives aren't as easy and enjoyable if we didn't have to do that, right? But it'll pay dividends later on if the system does in fact collapse. And, whatever negative things that they're trying to do to us. And so there are probably a bunch more comments that are coming in today. I put the voiceover on my other channel, and I'll see what people have to say there. But it seems like a number of people are feeling, some sort of, malaise or whatever it is. And the reason that I, put it out there, because I thought if that was the case, and it seemed like it already was, it would be a reassuring for people to hear that. Anyways, only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount. I'll definitely point for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.